For a couple of years now, I've managed to maintain a 10 kilo plus weight loss. This is over 20 pounds for those of you who use the imperial system. As someone who's struggled with my weight since I was a teenager, this has been a big game changer for me because in the past I would lose weight, great, but then I would gain it all back pretty quickly. Today I want to talk about exactly how I've managed to do this. I'm going to share with you 5 principles that have made all the difference when it comes to maintaining weight loss rather than losing it in the first place, although obviously these tips will help with that as well. So if you struggle with keeping the weight off, I hope this video is going to help you. Okay, principle number 1, you can never go back to eating the way you were eating before. I'm sorry, but that's just the way it is. The mistake we make so often is that we go on a diet. We go, okay, I'm going to, for 6 weeks or 12 weeks or whatever, I'm going to go on this diet and I'm going to lose the weight. Great, it probably works. But what happens afterwards? You stop being on the diet and you just go back to the habits that you've had for the rest of your life. You stop being on the diet and you just slip back into the habits of a lifetime. This is a mistake I made over and over and over and over again until I made one simple realization that changed everything for me. Being obese or overweight is a chronic condition. When you have a chronic condition, you need to manage that condition for the rest of your life. I won't go too deeply into the science behind this, but basically you have a certain number of fat cells. Once they're there, they don't go away, they just shrink. That's one of the reasons why if you've previously been overweight, it's easier to get back there again versus someone who's always been slim. And this is why if you can, it's easier to just never get overweight in the first place, but for most of us that ship has sailed, so let's move on. I'm going to link to a TED Talk below that talks a little bit about this. I only came across this recently, but this realization is something that I had many years ago, and honestly, it blew my mind when I really made this connection, when I really realized, hey, this is not something I can fix and then move on from. It's something I need to manage forever. Now, this might seem depressing and overwhelming, but it's I found quite empowering, because just like anything else in your life that you want to achieve and maintain, it takes maintenance. You can't just do it and then forget about it. You have to keep doing it forever. It is a chronic condition that I am managing. Now, the upside of this is that once you realize this is something you're going to be working on and managing for the rest of your time, 1, you can take things a lot more slowly because it's about the long game, not about the short game. Therefore, 2, you have time to properly educate yourself and learn what's good for your body, what's not good for your body, both from the scientific research and from personal experimentation. You can see it as a process, a lifelong process to getting healthier. So if you take away nothing else from this video, I want you to take away this idea of it being something you have to manage forever and just accepting that, because that is what makes the difference to maintaining that weight loss and that healthy weight for the rest of your life. And this doesn't have to be a bad thing, and I'll get to why that is as we go on through the video. But let's move on to principle number 2. The second principle is understanding the importance of protein. Well, understanding food macronutrients in general, but for me, it was understanding the effects, the multiple effects of eating enough protein that was revolutionary to my diet makeup. Okay, so what's so fancy about protein and why is it so important? First of all, your muscles are built from protein. You need to take protein in order to build muscles in your body. Muscles are the good things. They're the things that allow us to move, to get out of chairs, to run, to dance, to pick your groceries up and carry them. Basically to live a comfortable life, again, long term, and to be strong and healthy. Once you hit 30, as you start getting older, sarcopenia kicks in, and this is the process of slowly losing muscle over time if you don't do anything to maintain it. The less muscle you have, the less strength you have, the less you'll probably move, and it's a vicious cycle. And of course, the less muscle you have on your body, the more fat is obvious because there's nothing underneath it holding it up and stretching the skin. You end up looking flabby, even if you're quite slim. So, protein. Now, number 1, was protein helps you build muscles. Muscles are vital to health. Number 2, protein is the most satiating nutrient, i.e., it makes you feel the least hungry when you've eaten enough of it. Have you ever had the experience where you've eaten like a massive carb heavy dish and then like 3 hours later you're starving again because your blood sugar has gone wee? Same with fat. Like fat is satiating, but it's not long-term satiating like protein is. Protein is the business. And number 3, not only is it the business for keeping you full, it has the highest thermic effect of all the macronutrients. What's thermic effect? It's the energy your body burns to use up the fuel. So if you look at carbohydrates, fats, and proteins, it takes more calories for your body to process protein than it does for it to process carbohydrates and fats. Therefore, by increasing the amount of protein in your diet, you're expending more energy just to digest the food you've eaten. This is another reason why fat's not a great one, because your body doesn't spend much energy processing fat, but it's so easy to eat so much of it. So by focusing your meals around protein, you'll help to build your muscles, you will feel fuller, you will burn more calories processing that meal. So it's a win-win-win. Of course, you want to make sure to spread your protein intake out throughout the day. So have a good chunk of protein. The general rule of thumb is 30 grams of protein per meal to make sure you have enough. Now, I'm not going to go into the calculations about how much protein you're supposed to have. There's lots of different ideas out there. Because I weight train, I make sure I keep my protein pretty high. I mean, I think it's a good idea to do that anyway. And of course, there are medical conditions where this may be an issue. Now, just a disclaimer for this whole video, I am not an expert. I'm not a nutritionist. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a medical professional. I am just a woman who has learnt a lot, who is sharing my own experiences with you. So, go talk to your medical professional if you need more information about this, or your fitness professional. However, what I have heard, you want to aim for about 1 gram of protein per pound of lean body weight. And that's pretty much what I go for. I try to eat around 120 to 130 grams of protein every day, which is approximately what my lean body weight is, i.e. my body weight without the fat added on top. Okay, principle 3 is you need to manage your calories. Okay, there's lots of different ways that you can manage your calories, but you need to manage them, again, for the rest of your life. So let me just briefly touch on a couple of ways you can do this. The obvious one is calorie counting. I'm not suggesting you count calories for the rest of your life. That would suck. However, I do count calories when I'm trying to go through a phase of fat loss. So, I've lost a certain amount of weight, of fat, I should say. I have maintained that, but so I've kind of created a new set point for myself. And my new set point was around 69 kilos. So my goal moving forward is I still have body fat to lose, but I stopped at that point for a good probably about at least a year. I was about that same weight. Okay, so I reached a new set point of my weight. At the moment, I'm currently trying to slowly reduce that set point and trying to get lower and lower and find a new spot. So basically, when I'm going through the losing process, I'm trying to take a little bit more off, I will count my calories, because for me, I have found that's just the most effective, simplest way to make sure I'm not overeating. I can't cheat because I'm keeping myself honest. So that's way number 1. Now, there's a couple more ways before I do that. Another really great thing about doing some calorie counting for a period of time is that it teaches you how many calories are in food, and also the macros. I think that's really important, as well as understanding the macronutrient ratio and how many calories are in certain portions. Because to do this for the rest of your life, there's that whole thing about intuitive eating, but you can't intuitively eat healthily until you understand what you're eating. Okay, intuitive eating, and I do that most of the time and still maintain my weight. Intuitive eating only works if you understand and have trained yourself to understand what is in that plate of food in front of you and what it's going to mean for your body. So by tracking calories and macros for a period of time, you can train yourself to understand what a portion size is of different macronutrients, what makes a healthy, well-balanced meal for you, and then that is knowledge you can take away for the long term. Okay, so 2 other ways you can manage calories apart from learning how to do it and eating intuitively once you've learned how to do it, which is a long-term process. Number one is intermittent fasting. I'm actually experimenting with this right now myself, mostly for the actual health benefits rather than the weight loss benefits. But those two things often go hand in hand, especially if you've never done time restricted feeding or intermittent fasting before. You just will naturally reduce your calories by like cutting out a meal every day, right? There's so much to say about this. I'd love to do videos on intermittent fasting in the future. If you're interested in that, let me know in the comments below, and how it's worked for me and why I do it, etc. The types I do. The next one is meal planning. So this is where, I guess Weight Watchers and places like that, you get a meal, you know how many calories are in it, you know what the macro ratios are, and you make a meal plan with all of those meals so that they go together and they give you the exact amount of calories and macros you need for the day. So you're not counting the calories as you go, you're pre-planning your calories. And I actually do this when I count calories as well. Like, it's called pre-logging, where you actually know what you're going to be eating for the day. You put it all in, and then you see if you have any wiggle room. I'll be like, ooh, I have another 100 calories and I've eaten enough protein. You know what that means? It means chocolate. Means I can have that chocolate because I've got the space in my calorie budget for some delicious goodness. So that's why pre-logging can be great. Remember, you have to be honest with your logging. Don't cheat, because you're just cheating yourself. So yeah, tracking calories, intermittent fasting, meal planning, all great ways of managing your calories when you're going through either the learning phase or you want to just take a little bit more off and you need to be a bit more strict than you normally are. Okay, principle number 4 is to not ban anything. There is no food that is off limits to me, except caffeine, but that is a long-term thing, and I've done a whole video about that, why I don't ingest caffeine up here. It's nothing to do with my weight, it's to do with my mental health. Moving on, I do not, and I try not to label foods good or bad, all right? We know what's more healthy, we know what's less healthy. That being said, I only have one life, I want to enjoy it, and I love food. I want to eat all of the yummy things, right? So I do not ban anything from a diet. No food is off limits to me. Now, this works for me because of my personality. There's this great concept that I learnt from Gretchen Rubin of the abstainer versus the moderator. You are probably one of these two things. Either it works for you to cut stuff out and never touch it, not have it in the house, not have it around because you can't help yourself but just eat all of it. My husband's a great example of this. If there is chocolate, he will eat it. He doesn't have any self-control when it comes to chocolate. If it's there, he's going to eat it every day until it's gone, right? Me, I literally have packets of blocks of chocolate that are weeks, if not months old, because I can go have one square, enjoy it, and then not have any more for like 2 weeks. Now I love chocolate. It's not that I don't like chocolate. It's just that I have trained myself over time, and I know that having chocolate every day doesn't fit with my meal planning because I'd rather spend those calories on other things more regularly. But also it's okay for me. Like, I can moderate. I can go, yeah, no, I don't feel like that today. I might have some tomorrow, whatever. So you need to understand this about yourself. Are you an abstainer or a moderator? And it might even be different for different things. Like, I obviously abstain from caffeine, and that's not a problem for me because I've decided it's not something I want in my life. But when it comes to everything else, I'm a moderator because I'm like, I love chips, I love burgers, I love chocolate, I love cocktails. These are all things that bring me joy and make life worth living and are fantastic. And I love going out to new restaurants and trying new food. So I'm not going to stop myself from being able to do that. Yeah, I don't do it that often because I know it's not great for me to eat like that all the time. But again, nothing is off limits, so I don't feel restricted. I don't feel like I'm stopping myself from eating the things I enjoy. So that is a principle that has worked really well for me. And this is related to principle number 5, which is to plan for and then fully enjoy indulgences. Remember, we're talking about doing this for the rest of our lives. I am not foregoing the birthday cake on my birthday or on other important people's birthdays. I'm not foregoing cocktails on holiday or poutine, as the case might be as I'm in Canada. I want to enjoy those things. I want to experience those things. So I plan for those things. It might be something like this. I know that I'm going out with my girlfriends this weekend. We're going to go to a nice restaurant. We're going to have a couple of cocktails. So what I do is for the week before that, I just taper off my calories a little bit. I eat a little bit less than I normally would. And that means when I get to the weekend and I have that big blowout of like eating twice the calories I normally would in a day, over the week it all kind of balances out and I don't gain any weight. The same thing goes if I'm going on a longer holiday. Like we're about to, as I'm recording this, we're about to head to Canada for 5 weeks, and the first week Nick and I are like doing a road trip and going eating out at restaurants every day. So I know that I'm going to be eating more calories than I normally would. So in preparation, before I'm going, I'm just eating a bit less and losing a little bit more fat, so that I have a bit more of a buffer there and I'm prepared and I'm not gonna like blow my weight in the long run. Now, of course, I'm also just gonna be somewhat sensible. Like I know we're gonna be going hiking every day, so I'm gonna be burning more calories than I probably normally would. And we share big meals, you know, when you go to like Canada and America, the portion sizes are just crazy. So our thing that we do is we order one main meal and we split it, and then we order like a salad or a side or something like that. So we get to have the yummy thing, but we don't eat more than we really need of the yummy thing. So strategies like this are really helpful because that means you can fully enjoy these things when you have them, knowing that you're not setting yourself back. And that, for me, is the key to making this a lifelong process. Now, I love talking about this stuff. I have spent so much time in the last few years learning about health and fitness. I'm thinking about doing a longer series where I break down like how I transformed my body into 3 parts: mindset, food, and exercise. If you're interested in that, let me know below and give this one a thumbs up if you found it helpful. I'd love to hear from you in the comments what your biggest takeaway from today's video was. If you enjoyed this one, you might like this video where I outline some ways that I manage my energy to stay healthy, happy, and productive. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this video helped you, and I'll be back again soon with another one. Bye for now.